So this presentation I called Unplug and Reconnect. So this is very applicable to this time period in our life. Obviously 2020 was a major change in the world, and a lot of us were very plugged into media and the internet and movies and all this stuff. So we lost a lot of connection because of social distancing and things like that, which I think is going to be the long-term negative effects is just on our psyche and how we perceive things as dangerous or safe or not. So this is kind of a wellness overview I kind of put together about some topics that I think about and use on a daily basis with myself and my family and my clients, but also things that you might want to look at and ways to have a different perception. I mean, there's been a lot of conflicting stories and this versus that, and all these people are arguing and fighting, and when really we should be coming together. But obviously 2020 has created a lot of separation, physical separation in our social lives, especially with restaurants closing and not being able to visit family members and loss of life and things like that, and just a lot of negativity in the world at this point in time. So this is a health coaching program I kind of put together with some ideas and things and topics that I think are very important in this day and age, with just trying to navigate life in a way that we can maintain our wellness or regain maybe what we lost in 2020. It's a lot of time that we can't get back, but there's things that I think that we've come to understand about ourselves in this time that maybe we didn't think about before, and maybe appreciate the smaller things rather than just trying to chase after fame and money and all the things that really are not as valuable when you really think about it. So let's get started. So this is called Unplug and Reconnect. And again, to start off, it's like all videos, so for active members, for credit towards LMHF Wellness Program Part 2, you must watch the video in its entirety and comment on each video with your name. Once confirmed by LMHF, your comments and name will promptly be removed. Be sure you do that to get credit. All right, so this is a picture I saw a long time ago, and I think it was obviously probably from 2008, but it's kind of funny how things have reversed themselves in that we used to have these giant, huge TVs and people were thinner. Now we have thin TVs and the people have gotten much larger because we're a lot less active. But if you look at the amount of programming back then, I mean, I remember when I was a kid, at a certain time at night, I'm 46, but the TV would just basically go off. There'd be this colored bar and this loud humming noise, and that was it. There's no TV. But obviously now with the internet and obviously TV and streaming services, nothing ever sleeps. There's never any break. The news is always a 24/7, news feed. So a lot has changed, and there's a lot more targeted entertainment, I would say, things that are very addictive, whether it's binge watching series or, I don't know how many people actually still watch TV in terms of cable TV, but with all these, satellite things, there's so many, you can never reach the end of the internet, obviously. There's so much out there, and especially now with smartphones and things, there's so much that we're just glued to technology that it's kind of funny that the next slide is an interesting thing. I thought, not this one, sorry. Next one. Technology has changed so much, has changed our lives so much. There definitely are pros, but there's also a lot of cons, that the amount of time we spend on our phones and our tablets, computers is quite astounding. The amount of time people check their cell phones is through the roof. I mean, it's reduced productivity on that end, but on the other end, you have your email, you have access to everything. You don't have to be tied to your desk in order to reply or respond to things is great. So there's always that pro and con to everything. But there are definitely some things, technology was designed to make life easier. But on the other hand, there are definitely things that have become more difficult. Social media has created a lot of problems for people, especially with selfies and social interaction and acceptance is a big thing with unsocial media. But it's very highly addictive, right? They know what you like. They know how to fish. They target you, and it's it's pretty interesting, and it also highly advanced the way a lot of these companies do this stuff, because any free service, Facebook or YouTube, you are basically the product that they're selling to companies to put their ads in front of. And it's a targeted ad. It's just not some random ad. They know exactly what you like, what you look at, your search history, and they target you. So it's great for business. They spend lots of marketing dollars to get in front of you, and it's it's the way the world has changed. The business is not just shotgun marketing where they're putting ads on TV and newspaper. It's in your hand. You don't have to see a billboard. It's on your cell phone. Ads are popping up and recommended things are popping up that you like, and they know you like it, and it's put in front of you. So it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. So this picture about the cell phone case with a Marlboro case, it's kind of like the new addiction, right? It's like quitting smoking is difficult, while quitting a cell phone is probably 10 times that, if not more. I'm not sure what the numbers would be like, but it's got to be through the roof. But I think a lot of people want to be more entertained than educated. I think that's they want to be distracted. They want to have downtime, which is understandable because a lot of stuff that goes on these days is pretty heavy. And it can affect our sleep, can affect our wellness, can definitely affect our decisions. So cell phones are kind of like our lifelines now. And obviously technology keeps picking up on that and creating new ways to make more money. So those are some things. Obviously there's way more than that, but just some things I think about. So the amount of time that we have is the same. Everyone has the same amount of time, whether it's some executive in some Silicon Valley company to a homeless person. It's all the same. It's 24 hours a day. You have 24 hours in a day, 6 to 8 hours of sleep if you get that. Some get less, some get more. You have an 8-hour workday, some more, some less. Some people are working several jobs or have side jobs. There's a lot of things going on these days with people trying to make ends meet, but the main thing is that our personal time, that I call it 8 hours on here, is your personal time. What you choose to do with that time is up to you, whether you're sitting on your cell phone, scrolling through pictures, or whatever you're doing. But are we busy or are we productive? So one of the things I think about, especially being an entrepreneur and having to work for myself, is most people are not very productive over an 8-hour time span. There'll be blocks of time where they're productive. But I think that most people, especially since we have so many distractions with technology, that it's hard to focus on one task at a time. So finding ways to do that has actually become a bit easier with all these new technologies. I personally like to use a lot of audio tracks and wear headphones when I'm working on my laptop and trying to develop things. There's a lot of great audio tracks out there, or focus time, and they're just an audio track that plays on YouTube that allows you to kind of zone in and focus on what you need to do. And I find them very, very helpful for myself, because if I'm not focused, I'm not going to be productive. So I think a lot of people, especially now working from home, we have a lot more distraction. So the more we can kind of filter that distraction out and turn on blinders and get stuff done, the better off we'd be. Because if we could get 8 hours of work done in 4 hours, you get an extra 4 hours of personal time. So those are the kind of things that I always think about, trying to be more productive, but work smarter, not harder. Not work 10 or 12 hours a day, but work 4 hours. You can get your work done in 4 hours versus 8 or 10 would make more than common sense. And there's been tons of books and podcasts and this and that on productivity, which obviously does work, and there's a lot more being done. I mean, technology is advancing leaps and bounds. We're far beyond what we probably would have ever imagined where we are today, and who knows in a year's time where we'll be. So there's a lot of positive things happening, but I'm thinking about ways we can get around that. So the thing we talk about here, so this is an old picture. It says 20 years ago the internet was an escape from the real world. Today the real world is an escape from the internet. So it's kind of interesting if you're ever in a place where you have no cell service and you basically can't use your cell phone other than as a camera. time does kind of slow down. There's not so much hustle and bustle and, oh, did you see this, did you see that, watching videos of kittens and whatever. So it's kind of like time slows down, and time is something we can never get back. So the more we can appreciate the time that we have, the better off we are. So kind of unplugging and reconnecting with nature and just stuff you like to do. That's really what life to me is about. It's not about chasing fame and fortune. It's more about spending time with, experiencing things, but spending time with family and friends and doing different things, Actually participating versus watching is much more powerful to me. I mean, obviously there's lots of, famous people with followers and, did you see what they said and did? Like, it's not, well, what are you doing? You're just following them. Are you leading or are you following? So in Japan, they do things called green baths or nature baths, or to where there's a certain amount of time, you work real hard and then you need to just get away from it. And you increase productivity that way, you improve wellness and well-being, and it's really, really important to get out in nature and get away, get outside your house. Obviously, again, with 2020, we've been, very indoors, have avoided the outdoors in fear of things. But as things are changing, people are starting to open up. Obviously, businesses now are changing, and governmental policies are changing. But getting people away from that, a year of being locked down and isolated is going to be tough. But the other thing is think about, there's a lot of videos that are very popular right now on YouTube that are just about nature and nature sounds and travel, because we can't do that. So we're craving things that we can't do right now. I mean, travel came to a halt for 2020, and people, we need that escape. We can't be in the same place all the time, cooped up. So those things are really interesting. I obviously did a video on gardening as well, and getting outside. That's a major thing that really impacts not just our physical health, but mental health. It gives us that headspace that we really need in order to be well. So health in 2020 or 2021 is a layover from 2020. So we have our mental health, right? Our outlook from 2020. We have our physical health from 2020. People were a lot less active. They watched a lot more. I don't know what the percentages of it were, but I mean, all these streaming services were primed and ready for this. I mean, they did very well last year. Obviously, social media, all that jacked right up. Chemical health, nutrition-wise, people, use a lot more takeout services and delivery services, which typically it's not home-cooked food, so it's probably not as healthy. But I think the biggest thing is the mental health aspect, which is going to take a long time, years, to kind of deprogram people away from this isolation. So I think the mental health of this country and this world really took the biggest hit. Whether you had a family member that got sick or unfortunately passed away from this, or just the matter that you couldn't see them. I mean, I know some people whose family members passed away and they never got to see them before they passed. So unfortunately, there's some really, tragic things that have happened. But it's the people that have survived this and how you can approach this in a way that you can move on and grow is really important, not be kind of set back to the past. So I think we have to think about what steps we can take today to impact our own future and the people around us and keep growing and not take that step back. So social wellness, I'm not talking about social media, which is unsocial, but I'm talking about groups. Actually being around other people is very important. I mean, solitary confinement in prison is basically a terrible punishment. You have no connection to people. And that really can destroy someone mentally and physically, and your well-being just plummets. So someone that's a hermit or doesn't have a lot of friends or family, I mean, there's a lot of negative health consequences from that lifestyle. So a lot of what I talk about in terms of social wellness is trying to get out and do things with other people, whether it's family members, people have similar interests that you do, hobbies, activities. Meetup is something that I personally, with my health and fitness studio, for 5 or 6 years, I ran a meetup group. And what meetup is kind of like unsocial media, to where there is a website, obviously, to talk about the events, but it was all health and wellness based, and I brought speakers in. I did a bunch of talks myself, and just people came in and we met and connected, and there's just a lot of, like-minded people. And there are tons of these groups out there from different types of, dog lovers, pug clubs, and things like that. And there's I don't even know how many just even locally there are, but there's people that, have a passion for something and or expertise and experience in something it's just great to learn from people instead of just watching a video and having no interaction, no coaching, no feedback from someone. Those are the important things I think that we are lacking, is that we don't get that interaction. We might learn how to do something, but we never maybe apply it. So these are interesting things. I mean, there's a lot of, if you want to learn another language, there's a bunch of, language groups. But these are times where these people meet together. So it's not through Zoom, it's not through a phone, it's actually going out and doing something. So Meetup is a great resource for that, and I think that's something that would help really kind of reverse a bit of, obviously, the pandemic. Whether you want to wear a mask or not, at least you're around someone. It's not like you have to, be that close to them, but I think that's something that would really help people heal and change over time. So a lot of people, especially kids these days, are looking to be famous. They want fame because they think it brings all this, fortune and whatnot. And in reality, I mean, we see these things all the times in celebrities and suicide and drug addictions, and there's a lot of dark things that happen with fame and fortune. And we think people have these great lives, and they end up not living that long. So the main thing I always look at is trying to find things that bring you joy versus happiness. Happiness is up and down, and there's intrinsic things that you gain by earning something versus extrinsic, buying all these, people buy these outrageously expensive items that have really no value other than what you paid for them. So my big thing is there's a lot of issues with fame and trying to have everyone look at you and be famous. Selfie madness is a big thing, where people take all these selfies and they get so, upset if people don't like it, or they make a negative comment that just destroys them mentally. I mean, some people have opted for suicide on those things, so it's very sad, and there's a lot of bullying, obviously, online. But are you a leader or are you a follower? So I'm not a big follower of people. I don't follow anyone's, Twitter accounts and things like that. It's not things I want to think about. I mean, I think we have so much going on in our minds with what's going on in the world to try to, follow X, Y, and Z and this company and that person. It sucks up a lot of your mental energy, So those are things, plot your own course. And reality TV is staged. It's not real, but that's still a big thing. People think that these things really happen. To me, time is more valuable than money. So money, you can earn that back. You can't ever earn back time. So what's more valuable? Money doesn't buy happiness. You want to invest in yourself. So invest time in yourself. Invest, relationships in yourself. Those are important things that we pretty much overlook when we're chasing money, right? We're chasing, I want this amount of money so I can get that, and then I'll be happy, and then happiness typically doesn't come. So you can't take money with you. You never see a U-Haul following a hearse, right? The stuff stays. So do you want to spend your time chasing money and then leaving with nothing? So time, to me, is much more valuable. And again, you can't get it back once it's gone. So true value is a big thing. What are your core values? What are the things that really mean the most to you? So, your health obviously should be a big concern. Your family's health, your well-being, your home, your living, situation. There's going to be ups and downs, undoubtedly. I mean, that's what makes life fun. I mean, roller coasters are not fun if they're straight, unless they're super fast. They're fun because there's ups and downs. So I try to strive for joy, not happiness, things that bring a lot of joy, that are more intrinsic, things that I've earned or accomplished, or, like an artist has made these amazing paintings, and that's something that will stay with you, right? So those are the things that I try to focus on, are intrinsic in value, things that are valuable to me, are experiences, and not just, hey, look what I have, my car, ring, jewelry. Those aren't impressive to me. But life experience is a big thing. And obviously in 2020, we were limited by travel, right? People could not go on vacations. They couldn't travel different places. I mean, I know some people that did some local things, and RV sales were through the roof because people couldn't fly, so they were buying RVs left and right. So in the next couple of years, there'll probably be a bunch of RVs that were lightly used that you could probably buy inexpensively. But people just want to get out of their homes and get and do things. And when they didn't have money, couldn't travel, they started buying things. That's why Amazon just went through the roof with the amount of things that people wanted to buy to make themselves feel better. You get some nice new toy and play it for a little while, and then you want something else. So you're always trying to get more. But again, travel. Obviously, travel as much as you can. If you have the time, just take a break away from daily life, and whether it's a local trip or distant trip, doesn't matter. Just get out of your environment and experience something new. Creating lasting memories obviously comes from travel and being around other people. Don't just be by yourself. So what have you always wanted to try or learn? Whether it's a new language, playing an instrument, arts, painting. I mean, there's so many things out there nowadays that are really incredible in terms of the impact, and you never think until you get into something how much you enjoy it. So try new things. There's a lot of these pour and paint type groups where you have a little bit of wine or whatever and you're painting. There's all types of couples events and things like that. So those are things we need to do to get out and really mentally improve our well-being. And obviously there's a lot of outdoor adventures, right? There's biking groups and running groups and 5Ks and all that stuff where basically didn't happen last year. So what happened to all those people that were doing those things? There were virtual 5Ks, people running by themselves. There were virtual marathons. So you're still doing it, but you're not interacting. And that's the energy of like a 5K or a marathon, is the energy and what goes into that. The amount of training and summation of that is incredible. So think about that and how you can maybe expand your horizons with different social groups or get involved in different projects. There's tons of volunteer programs out there. I personally am helping restart a community garden, so that's a huge undertaking, and we're expanding that. But again, to me, that's my social interaction that I've just really been around my wife and kids for a long time. And some friends here and there, but really to build that community back is very important to me and my well-being. Images are a big thing, obviously, that bring back emotions and memories. We all carry cell phones, so we're carrying cameras everywhere versus the old days, like you have to go and get your camera to go take a picture. I mean, I have no idea how many pictures are taken every day on people's cell phones. It's got to be through the roof. But, we're capturing a moment in time. We're capturing time. So getting back to that or looking at pictures brings back a ton of emotions. But make sure that you're actually experiencing things, not just taking pictures and worrying about your filters and things. Like, use your eyes to take mental pictures. That's very important as well. So capturing video and photos are great, and we have that ability now, obviously, with smartphones to always be ready for something, good or bad. But make sure that our brains are very much wired for images, and memories are based on them. Talk about headspace. So time devoted to you is key, right? So taking care of yourself is very important to taking care of your family, taking care of your job. If you're not well, mentally, chemically, or physically, you can't perform well. You can't take care of someone else that may be injured or sick if you don't have that capacity, or if you have an injury or a sickness yourself. So those are things to be very proactive about. Scheduling time for yourself, not obviously if you have family and kids, there's got to be time for you that you do things that you enjoy, not just work. There's got to be other things that you do that will keep you going. I also use this process, just basically writing out your thoughts on a dry erase board. It's kind of like a diary type thing, but there's so much going on in our heads in the world. It's just kind of like, here's what I'm going to do, and then I wipe it off. I mean, it's detailed, but getting things out of your head is very important. If you're not speaking to others or have a counselor or something like that, just writing it out gets it out of your head, and when you erase it, it's gone. No one's going to be reading your thoughts. You don't need a lock on your journal. It's just a dry erase board you wipe off when you're done. But getting it out is very, very important. Again, I talked a bit about audio. I mean, there's obviously tons of apps. Headspace app is huge. There's lots of, like I said, YouTube videos with sound and video and all kinds of things you can use that are free or inexpensive. Obviously, nature sounds. There's a lot of mental focus or meditation videos as well. Now, are you mindful or mindful? Most people are the latter because they have so much information going on in their heads. We're overloaded with things every day. It's very hard to focus on one thing at a time. So that's what this is about. It's kind of like unplugging from the internet and what's going on in our world and just kind of reconnecting with what's really important. I think there's definitely, I've personally found that. I've done a bit of that and I'm continue to build on it, but I think it's something that we really need to do in order to improve our wellness long term. All right, so last thing is we are hardwired to be in the past to determine our future. Okay, so we don't really live in the present that much. Our brains are really wired to what we've learned and how that can help us in the future, but we kind of jump over the present. So that's a big part about mindfulness, is being in the present moment, how you're feeling, where you want to go in the future, but looking at where you are right now. So that's what a lot of the things I think about with coaching clients and just myself. Obviously, myself, I'm probably my best coach, but my worst client. So I know how to jump around my guidance. So that's a difficult thing to work with. And I have some peers that work with me as well, which help keep me in line. But that's the main thing is try to be in the present. So that's what mindfulness and meditation is about, the present, because we're so wired to the past or past experiences, and using that to determine where we go in the future, we overlook the present. So those are some things I think about and I think are very important for overall wellness, especially considering we just came out of 2020. 2021 has looked much more promising, but there's always going to be things that we have to address, and the next thing, who knows what that's going to be like. But that's my take, and I hope you learned something and enjoy.